Hello viewers, now I am in Japan's Shizuoka prefecture and on the beach of North Pacific Ocean and with the guys who came from America in Japan. So let's talk with him. Hi Jack,
Hi, nice to meet you.
nice to meet you. How are you?
I'm doing really well.
Oh,
We're having a lot of fun out here today.
how long you are in Japan?
So I've been here for 4 years.
4 years.
4 years.
Why you choose Japan?
Yep.
You are from America. America is itself a big country. Why you come here?
So I originally chose Japan because there were just these kind of breadcrumbs throughout my life that I feel like led me here. Growing up, I remember learning about capsule hotels, right? And when I was in the 4th grade. And then when I was in the 8th grade, I had 2 Japanese exchange students come from Japan to Nebraska, where I'm from, right in the middle of America. And they stayed at my house for a week. And then it's things like that. You know, growing up, my favorite movie was Kiki's Delivery Service. So just these little tiny things that kind of, when I came to this point in my life where I had the opportunity to study abroad, and I'm trying to think about what country I want to go to, Japan was at the forefront of my mind. You know, like that's a place I've always wanted to go. I think it would be super cool. And so I came and I studied abroad here. I spent 6 months here, and then I was like, man, I need to go back. And oh, we got a guest.
So what's you're doing now in Japan?
So now, after my study abroad period, I was like, I got to get back to Japan, right? So I joined the JET program. I applied and I got accepted for the Japan Exchange Teacher Program. And I came back here, and that's actually why I initially came to Shizuoka, because you don't get to decide where they put you. I came to Shizuoka, I taught for a year, and at that point I realized 2 things. I know not nearly enough Japanese to get by, and I'm not sure I enjoy teaching, right? So I moved to Tokyo with my girlfriend, who is from Shizuoka.
Oh, she's Japanese?
Yes, she's Shizuoka-jin. We moved to Tokyo because there's really no better place to learn the language, right? And then as a foreigner, like the opportunities, you're not going to beat what you can find in Tokyo. So we moved there. I did my 2 years of education, and now I'm an IT recruiter.
IT recruiter.
IT recruiter. So recruiter as a genre is probably one of the 2 things that foreigners can really do. If you're not perfectly fluent in Japanese, you can either be a teacher or you can be a recruiter. And being a recruiter pays a lot better. And there's a lot more, like when you teach, there's a hard ceiling, right? You're not going to get above this much money unless you create your own place. And in order to create your own business, a lot of times you have to have permanent residency, right? So as far as an individual contributor, one person who's trying to work for a company, being a recruiter is really the best thing to get.
So you are now an IT recruiter, right?
Yes.
And you know Nihongo very well?
I know enough to get by. I can confuse people into thinking that I speak the language. But if I go to the convenience store and it's a Japanese person behind the counter, and I say something like "arigatou gozaimasu," right? Or like "fukuro irenai desu," and they start asking me other questions, right? Then at that point I'm like, I have no idea what you said.
You choose Japan, and you said you have already passed 4 years.
Yep.
How long you will stay in Japan?
Yeah, I think honestly it kind of depends on a lot of things, right? So right now we're living in Tokyo, and Nana, my girlfriend, her whole family's right here in Shizuoka. So we might want to move back here. We might want to go back home to the States, continue our education for, you know, in order to create other opportunities. We have no idea. So as far as the future and how long we plan to stay here, that's kind of up for grabs. But as far as why I've stayed here for so long, I think it's really a beautiful country. You know, like obviously you can't pan the camera right now, but if you could, you'd see like these gorgeous, lush hills. I'm not going to call them mountains, right? Right next to the beach, and it goes beyond nature. Like nature's gorgeous, right? But they got the jinja, right? They got the shrines, they got the temples, they got the food, the smells. You know, I feel like that's something that people don't really talk about. The smell of a country. You know, when you touch down on that plane and you get off and you smell the air from that place, it's different and it has a vibe, and it's something that you can kind of take in. I know if I were to disappear from Japan and come back 10 years later, I'd get off and I'd be like, yep, this is home. Nowhere's perfect. Nowhere's perfect. You're not going to go to any country in the world and be like, this place is perfect. I don't need anything more. And if you do feel like that, it's probably because you're just visiting. You're not living there, right? There's a big difference. I studied abroad here. That was like a vacation, really.
So what's the difference between America and Japan? Both are developed country, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as somebody who lives in it and has no power in my own day-to-day life, right? I think the biggest thing is, as somebody at the bottom of the food chain, as somebody who goes to a store and needs something, you have a lot more freedom in America to be like, for example, the example I always use, if I go to McDonald's in America and I say, I would like a Big Mac, or sorry, no, I would like a double cheeseburger with the Big Mac sauce on it. I can do that. I have the freedom to customize things, and the people who I'm speaking to have the power to give me what I want, right? Like we say, the customer is always right. The same way that we say the customer is always right, Japanese people say, "Okyakuma wa okami-sama." The customer is God. But the irony is, we are a lesser God who is subservient to a larger God, and that larger God is the rule book, right? They don't give lower level people the autonomy to make decisions like, yes, I can put Big Mac sauce on your double cheeseburger, right? And it's one of those things, it sounds kind of stupid when you hear it, but if you were here and you were able to be like, wow, I didn't realize how much I'm able to customize, right? How much I'm able to customize and say, hey, I don't want this, I do want that. It's something that you don't realize here, right? Like, we're able to bend the rules. How many times do people say to you in your average day life outside of Japan, I'm not supposed to do this, but you haven't been an asshole, so I'm going to do it for you, right? Versus in Japan, incredible customer service from like a kindness aspect. They're very kind, they're very polite at telling you that they have no power to do what you need them to do. Right, they're very kind, but as far as like the efficiency and the effectiveness of actual customer service, Japan is terrible.
I want to know what's the bad things in Japan you ever experienced?
Yeah, I think I touched on it. You know, it's not just being different, right? Because this is a very homogenous society. I think something like 98. I think something like 97 or 98%. Ah, 気をつけてね。カメラ。
大丈夫ですよね。
Something like 97 or 98% of people in Japan, when you're not that way, you get treated differently. It's unavoidable. Now, I'm one of the lucky few, right? Because the number one step down like underneath Japanese is white, right? So if you were to ask me this question and you were to ask somebody else this question who doesn't have the same skin tone as me, they'd have a very different answer.
Yeah.
Right? So it's, for me, the first time in my life that I've been a place where I haven't been the white person, right? But even though I'm not the white person, amongst foreigners, like, we still get treated differently. So, you know, it's a great country to be, but I think as far as the bad things go, at least from a racial aspect, I'm not the right person to ask, because I still benefit from the color of my skin, even though we're on the other side of the world, right? It's a great country. The average person that you meet is very kind. They're very curious. They want to talk to you. They want to get to know you. I think a lot of times people will, when you sit down on a train, get up and move. And it's not because they're racist. It's because they're thinking, this person's going to try to talk to me. Because we do that in foreign countries. We'll sit down and I'll just be like, hey, what are you doing? Where are you from? Right? But in Japan, they don't do that. And they know that it's going to be in English, or at the very least, not Japanese. And they get uncomfortable. They get up and move, not because they're racist, not because they're like, this person doesn't look like me. It's because I'm terrified that you're going to try to speak to me in something that's not Japanese. and Japanese is all I speak.
I learned one thing from Japanese. Japanese people never show their mind as they are not open.
I feel
Do you
like
believe that?
I feel like it's a double-edged sword. You get cut both ways, right? Yeah, when I'm out in public and people are being stupid, then you don't have other people who are making it into a bigger problem because they're like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. And then these people start to fight, right? But when you're in a relationship, for example, and you need to communicate, because you can't have a relationship without communication, right? And that's something that my girlfriend and I have battled with. You know, she needs to be able to open up more to me, and then also I need to be more receptive to that and be like, no, instead of saying like, no, you're wrong, right? So that's like my own self growth journey that I've been on, is kind of being more receptive to that, especially since I'm the one who's like, hey, you got to open up.
So why you choose a Japanese as your girlfriend?
It's not like I was looking for a Japanese girlfriend. I met her and I fell in love with her. She is the most incredible woman I've ever met in my life. And I tell her this, I'm like, you could have been white, black, purple, green, blue, yellow, inside out, upside down, right? Girl. Like, I fell in love with who she is on the inside. But a word of caution, I would not fall in love with Nana and I have taken to calling them like super Japanese, right? There's the people who have no foreigner friends, have had relatively little contact with foreigners, right? Who don't go to situations, who have not, in which you would converse with foreigners, who don't study abroad, who don't even travel abroad. And those people are very difficult to become close to, because they are like, no, I am 100% Japanese, not in just like my heritage, but the way that I speak, the people I talk to, the things that I look at, the information that I view online, right? The music I listen to. There's people who just have this wall about like, I'm Japanese, I live in Japan, I have no plans of ever leaving Japan. And they create this little box of comfort for themselves. And I think it's that way in every country you go to. Any country you go to. The only country I've been to is Japan, right? So for me, it's easy to say like, oh, Japanese people are like this. I think it's a people thing. We like what makes us comfortable. And some of us get into this rhythm of, I'm going to do stuff that makes me uncomfortable. I'm going to go outside and do things that I'm not used to. I want to have a lot of firsts. I want to try this for the first time and this for the first time. And the average Japanese person is very risk averse. They avoid risk. They stay in this realm of comfort that they have created for themselves. And if like you come over here and you're like, oh, I'm going to have tons of Japanese friends, maybe start by focusing on the friends that you can make within your own group, the foreigner group. Branch out from there. Now, if you don't want to have foreigner friends, and if you're fluent in Japanese, go for it. You know, but they are very reserved. They do not appreciate people who speak their mind, because that's the other thing. Yeah, you're right. They hold it inside. But that also means that they get really uncomfortable when other people are honest with them. Right? So I can't, if you come to me as a friend and you're telling me your problems, now this might be a white person thing, this might be a man thing, right? But for me, I want to help you solve that problem. Why else would you be coming to me and telling me your problem? You're probably like, hey man, I'm at my wit's end. Let's put two heads together and figure this shit out, right? But Japanese people don't want that. They just want to vent and then fuck off. And if you try to give them advice, it might be the last time you ever hang out with that person. Right?
So how long you will stay in Japan?
Yeah, so, I mean, for the foreseeable future, you know, if Nana and I are able to figure something out, we're like, hey, we're thinking about doing this, we're thinking about going over here. It's
so
open.
you
It's
have a
open.
girlfriend, Japanese girlfriend.
I
So
do, yeah.
when you get married and you want to stay in Japan for
Really, I think it's coming up now. We're going on 4 years. 4 years is a big number for me. My parents dated for 4 years. I don't know. Throughout my life, 4 has been a reoccurring number. So I think that it's about time for me to pop that question. But yeah, she's incredible. I can't imagine myself with anybody else. So probably pretty soon here.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time.
And viewers, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, please give thumbs, comments, and subscribe our channel. Bye bye.
And if you like me, give double thumbs.